Today we're going to go over tips to go whole food plant-based, and I'm really excited to do this video because it is very challenging to stick to a whole food plant-based diet sometimes, especially if you're new at it. And the reason for that is because our environment is ridden with unhealthy food, from restaurant food to the food in the grocery stores, to the food at schools, to the food at parties that you go to. It's just everywhere. Billboards on the freeway telling us to eat, at fast food places. It's just constant reinforcement to eat unhealthy. And of course, our taste buds are lighting up and it's very difficult to resist. So I want to give you some tips on how to go whole food plant-based. And if you're already whole food plant-based, just extra tips to kind of help you stick with it and have an easier time, hopefully. So tip number one, clear your pantry. And of course, this is tip number one because you have to have a clean house if you want to eat this way. So basically get rid of the meat, the chicken, the fish, the eggs, the dairy, the processed junk food, which comes in the form of snacks, desserts, anything that's packaged, the processed vegan foods like vegan cheeses and vegan meats. None of that is healthy. It's full of oils, usually more than 1, 2, 3 different types of oil, more than one type of sugar. So basically you want to fill your house, after you clear your house, you want to fill your house with good whole foods. So fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds. You want to fill your house with all of the delicious whole plant foods. And that will make it much easier for you to at least have a strong foundation to eat a whole food plant-based diet. Tip number 2, meal plan. So you want to have all the tools you need in your toolbox to eat a whole food plant-based diet. So what are the tools? And for me, the tools are the recipes. You want to go online and search whole food, plant-based, oil-free recipes. You can choose specific ones, your favorite foods from the past, and it'll be like a healthified version. Or you can just search, whole food, plant-based, oil-free breakfast ideas or breakfast recipes, lunch recipes, dinner recipes, whatever it might be. And you want to print those recipes or save them on your computer or your phone and just have them available and eat them on rotation. It could be, once a month, once every 2 weeks, week, whatever it is for you that you prefer. And for me, I have my meal plan for dinner. These are all the recipes I cook for my family, and we just rotate them. When we go through every page, which there are about 35 pages approximately, when we go through all of those, then I start over from page 1 again, and we just rotate the same meals. And these are the meals that my family love, and they're healthy and nutritious, and they don't have any oil in them, and they taste amazing. So find your favorite recipes and meal plan. Tip number 3, meal prep. So meal prep is to have foods already available for you in your fridge, in your freezer, and they're accessible so that when you get really hungry, you won't reach for something unhealthy. You will have your healthy salad or healthy soup. In my case, I batch make a huge amount of soup and I eat that, or I'll have my salad and I'll eat the salad as a meal for lunch. So basically, you always want to have healthy foods ready and waiting for you. You want to have a big bowl of fruit sitting out on the counter. So when you feel like having a snack, you can just grab a fruit. You want to have frozen fruits in the freezer that are always available, because sometimes our fresh fruits go bad and you don't have a chance to go to the grocery store. So you have frozen fruit in the freezer and you can eat that with your oatmeal or whatever you'd like. You can have a variety of potatoes in your fridge and steam them ahead of time, or you can easily steam them in that moment. But just have foods available that you can eat when you're hungry. You don't want to be hungry and stuck, because the thing with the whole food plant-based diet is that you have to prepare the food. There's no fast food. It just doesn't appear. You have to actually prepare it. So it takes time to do that. So you want to do that in advance if you can, and just have the foods available. When you run out, make another batch and just keep that going. Tip number 4, know what you will eat at your previous meal for your next meal. So when I'm having lunch, I'm thinking about dinner. What should I have for dinner? I'm not preparing it. It's too soon to prepare it in some cases, but I'm at least thinking about it. I don't want to have my lunch and I'm eating really healthy and I'm feeling good about it, but then dinner rolls around and I'm starving and I haven't thought about it. So think about your next meal at your previous meal. Tip number 5, cook simple foods. You don't have to cook Instagrammable meals for every meal. You want to eat simple foods because those are going to be the most nourishing. And there's a quote that I really like that I heard recently. The body needs food, but simple foods fill your stomach just as easily as a 5-course meal. So the point is to fill your stomach, to feel nourished and satiated. And it could be simple foods. Be comfortable with eating simple foods. Tip number 6, read the ingredient labels. The best, most healthiest foods aren't going to have an ingredient label at all, but because fruits and vegetables and grains and beans don't have an ingredient label, it's just one ingredient. So you want to stick to those foods as much as possible. But definitely if it does have an ingredient label on the back, you want to read it. You don't want to look at the front of the package when it says vegan, plant-based, natural, good source of fiber. You don't want to read all of that because companies will put whatever they'd like on the front to get you to think a product is healthy. You must flip it over and read the ingredients. Make sure there's no oil and added salt and added sugar. You don't want those foods if there's going to be oil, salt, and sugar. And oftentimes with sugar, they name sugar dextrose, and a lot of people don't know that dextrose is a short sugar, or riboflavin. So a lot of people don't know that that's a sugar as well. And you can easily have multiple sugars in one food item and not know it because we're used to reading the name sugar. But companies have gotten really smart and they don't write sugar anymore. They might write sugar along with many other words that mean sugar, and you end up having so much sugar in the food. So read the label and get used to reading all labels. Tip number 7, use Instacart if you can. We use Instacart in my family. It's $99 a year, and I'm not trying to advertise for Instacart, but when I shop on my phone, I can get exactly what I want, and I'm not sidetracked by all of the marketing in the grocery store, for all the junk food, the comfort food. We want to have tunnel vision and order exactly what we want. So I highly recommend Instacart. If you don't get Instacart, just make your grocery list and stick to it and have tunnel vision, and don't get sidetracked by any of the junk food, especially by the checkout stand. That's where they really get you and try to sell you all of the highly palatable foods that are just not good for you. So don't get tempted, have tunnel vision, or get Instacart and order your groceries online and pick them up or have them delivered. Tip number 8, avoid eating out at restaurants. You will need to use a huge amount of self-restraint and willpower if you go to a restaurant. So better to just cook at home and know what you're putting in your foods, and it's clean, it's healthy, and you feel good about what you're eating. Avoid restaurants at all costs. But if you must go to a restaurant, plan ahead, and you can order, things like rice or steamed veggies, a plain baked potato, salad with no dressing, and you can bring your own dressing. Like what I do, I put in little containers nutritional yeast and a little bit of salt, and I'll squeeze lemon at the restaurant if they have lemon slices. So you can do that, or bring your own dressing. But yeah, beans and rice are good food, but a lot of times at restaurants they add oil to the beans. So you really just have to be careful. It's just better to not eat out if you can help it. Cooking at home is always going to be your best bet. Yes, it takes more work and more time and more effort, but it's so worth it. It's our health. Tip number 9, tell all your family and your friends that you've adopted this new lifestyle. You're eating whole food, plant-based, no oil, and let them know the foods that you can eat and can't eat. You want to let them know because then they won't offer you certain foods that will be tempting, or give you foods as a gift that you don't want to eat. So just be upfront with everyone and let them know. Don't hide it. Be proud of it and let them know you're eating this way. Tip number 10, avoid watching TV. And the reason why we want to avoid watching TV is because there are so many commercials on TV. And even if you're watching YouTube, there are so many commercials on YouTube that are constantly advertising unhealthy foods that are full of oil and processed foods that are just junk food. So yeah, better to, if you can, avoid watching TV. You won't be susceptible to the marketing strategies from the products that these large companies are trying to sell, like Pringles and Lay's and Pepsi and whatever else, because they spend a lot of money on marketing to get you to buy their products. So it would be helpful to avoid watching TV. Another reason to avoid watching TV is because you're sedentary and not moving around, and that's not a good thing if you're sitting watching TV for too long. And the third thing is that you could start eating a snack and just mindlessly eat while you're watching the show, and you could consume just a whole lot of calories and unnecessary food if you're not even hungry. You're just kind of like mindlessly eating. So avoid mindless eating by avoiding TV. There are so many other better things that you can do. Read a book, go outside, play with your kids if you have children. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do besides watching TV. Tip number 11 is don't wait until you're starving to eat. That's too late. And at that point, you're just going to want to grab whatever you can just to eat, and it may not be healthy. So the best thing to do is you don't want to eat too soon either. You want to eat when you're hungry, but not when you're starving. So it's a very fine line. And Dr. Furman says that true hunger is not felt in the stomach. It's felt in the throat, the neck, and the mouth. Tip number 12. Anytime you go out, you want to bring a snack. And if you're going out with your family, bring snacks for them too. Because if you're satisfied and you have your snack, but they're hungry, you know, they may want to eat out, and that's not going to be good for all of you. So whenever you leave the house, bring a snack. So you're going to bring an apple, a banana, oranges, oil-free hummus, a baked potato, salad, whatever you'd like to bring. Pack it and bring it with you. And even if you're gone for just 2 hours, you never know when you're going to want a snack. So always have something every single time you leave the house. I know it's a lot of planning, but it's worth it because it'll prevent you from eating at fast food places if you get hungry and you're stuck with no food. And if I'm going somewhere for a longer period of time, like my parents just moved a little further away and it's a little bit further of a drive, so I bought one of these insulated bags, and it's just a little bit insulated, and I'll put a few ice packs inside along with my salad, my soup, and any food that I want, more than just snacks, because then I'm needing meals if I'm going somewhere farther away. So yeah, I really recommend like an insulated cooler bag, and I'll put the link to mine that I have in the description. Tip number 13, avoid getting on the scale. Typically people gain or lose 4 or 5 pounds any given week. And so the weight fluctuates. And if we look at the scale when we're a few pounds up, it might be very discouraging and we might just give up. So we don't want to do that. We want to stick to the whole food plant-based diet. We don't want to get discouraged. Forget the scale. Your clothes will tell you if you're eating healthy or not. You know, it'll feel tighter or looser. So your clothes will tell you what's going on with your body and how you're eating. If you're eating processed junk food that's causing you to gain weight, or if you're eating really healthy whole plant foods. Tip number 14, if you feel any bloating, push through that. So for example, when I first started eating salad, a big, huge salad for lunch, I was feeling bloated in the beginning for the first few weeks. And if you just push through that, the body will adjust. And for me, that wasn't a problem anymore. I didn't feel the bloating that I used to feel when I first started eating like that. So if you're eating a higher volume of veggies or fruits, just if you feel bloated and you're thinking, I'm not losing any weight, I'm feeling like I'm gaining weight, what's going on? Stick with it because the body will adjust. Tip number 15, know your why. Why are you trying to eat whole food plant-based? Ask yourself that. For me, it's to have health and longevity and wellness and to feel good, to feel attractive, to feel higher self-confidence and self-esteem. It's all around the best thing that you can do for your body. And I believe that 100%. And also for the animals, animals are sentient beings. That means they're able to feel things and perceive things. Why would I ever want to eat an animal or eat a byproduct of an animal like milk? I don't want animals to suffer because of my own fork. And the third reason why I'm whole food plant-based is because of the environment. The impact of animal farming on the environment is just massive, and I don't want to have any part in that. And so things like deforestation or conservation of water or greenhouse gases. Animal farming has a lot to do with that. This chart shows greenhouse gas emissions per a kilogram of food product. So you can see that beef produces 99.48 kilograms of CO2 compared to nuts at the bottom, which produces 0.43 kilograms of CO2. And you can see that all of the plant products are at the very bottom of this chart. This next chart shows how many liters of water it takes to produce 1 kilogram of the following foods. You can see that meat requires 15,415 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds of meat. On the bottom, you see that vegetables and fruits require the least amount of water per a kilogram of that item. This last chart shows the environmental impact of dairy versus plant milks, and you can see that the environmental footprint of dairy milk is much larger than that of plant milks. I'm going to put a link of the data gathered in these studies in the description. It's crystal clear from this data that the best thing we can do for our environment is to go whole food plant-based. We just need to protect our environment for many generations to come after us. It's not just about our generation and our life and when we're gone, oh well, for everyone else. No, we have to really take care of our planet for the future generations to come. Tip number 16, be comfortable with being different. Unfortunately, because eating whole food plant-based is so difficult to do, you will be in the minority, but be okay with that. It's okay. For me personally, I don't want to be mainstream. I don't want to be like everyone else. I love anytime I can be different from the masses, and I'm happy to do that. So like Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. So it's up to us. Whatever we want to see in the world, it starts with us. So be the change you wish to see in the world. And also, like Robert Frost said, one of my favorite poets, take the road less traveled. So with this whole food plant-based diet, we are definitely taking the road less traveled, and it can be lonely sometimes, but stick with it because we know that this is the best thing for us, for the animals, for the planet. And it's just, yes, it's hard work, but it's so worth it. And even though the road less traveled might seem very lonely, just know that you are not alone. I'm right there with you, and there are so many others who are choosing health. Tip number 17, change old routines with friends or family. If you have a routine of meeting with an old friend at a restaurant, that restaurant might be somewhere where you would eat unhealthy, change your routine. You don't have to eat at a restaurant. You don't have to meet at a restaurant. You can go for a walk. You can meet at a garden or a park or a beach or a forest, any kind of like nature place near you, and you can just go for a walk and talk. Or you can go to a coffee shop and just have tea together. There's so many other ideas. You can go bowling. You can do whatever you'd like. You don't have to have your meeting focused around food or a restaurant. You don't want that to be a trigger for old habits. And speaking of triggers, the next tip is to avoid trigger places. So if there are places where you go where in the past you typically would eat junk food, stop going to those places immediately. For example, in the past, before COVID and before I was eating whole food plant-based, I would go to Whole Foods to get some of our grocery shopping done, and they had a vegan baked goods section, and I just got into this horrible habit of getting vegan baked goods, and it was just really unhealthy. And once COVID hit, I stopped going to any of the grocery stores, and thankfully that was a blessing because I was able to break that habit, which was very difficult to break. So avoid trigger places like that will cause you to eat unhealthy. The next tip is to meet with people. If you're going to meet with anyone, whether it's work for a work meeting or friends and family, meet with them after your normal eating time. So you can meet with them after breakfast or after lunch or after dinner. You don't want to meet with people during a meal time, because if you get hungry and then you eat out, or if you have a work meeting and it's a lunch meeting at a restaurant, that's not going to be good because you'll just have different temptations. It'll be really hard to eat whole food plant-based at the restaurant. So you want to be full when you meet with clients, family, friends, whoever it is that you're meeting with. You want to be full. You don't want food to be an issue or have to find fast food right away or eat at a restaurant. You want to just be full and then enjoy your time together with that person or that client or whoever it might be. So always eat and then meet. The next tip is to make sure you get enough sleep, because if you don't get enough sleep, you're more likely to reach for junk food or comfort food. And how we sleep has a lot to do with our hormones, primarily ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the go hormone that tells you when to eat. And when you are sleep deprived, you have more ghrelin. Leptin is the hormone that tells you to stop eating. And when you don't get enough sleep, you have less leptin. So more ghrelin and less leptin equals reaching for junk food, reaching for comfort food, and weight gain. So make sure you get enough sleep. So sleep on time and set a timer if you need to at night when it's time to sleep, but get the sleep that you need so that you're more likely to make healthy choices. The next tip is to drink a lot of water, because that helps with satiety and also it's an appetite suppressant. And the very last tip is to surround yourself with people who support you in this lifestyle and who also eat healthy and whole food plant-based like you. And if you are the only one in your family or friend group that is eating like this, go onto YouTube or find other resources where you are connecting with people in the whole food plant-based community. It's a huge community now and it's growing so fast. And you can watch YouTube videos and subscribe to channels like Well Your World, Chef AJ, all the plant-based doctors. They have impacted me incredibly. So surround yourself with that information. I'll put a bunch of links in the description for my favorite YouTube channels, but just know that you can do this and you have the support of all of the whole food plant-based doctors who have paved way for us. Doctors like Dr. Furman, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Greger, Dr. Lyle, Dr. Goldhammer, Dr. Ornish, Dr. Michael Clapper, Dr. Anthony Lim, and so many others. So surround yourself with people who have health as their focus also and are like-minded. When you immerse yourself in this environment, watching the YouTube videos of other people who are eating whole food plant-based or reading books by whole food plant-based authors, then you really feel that sense of community. And just know that you're not alone. I'm right there with you, and along with so many others. And just know that you can do it. It is possible, and it gets so much easier through time. It really does. And if you do eat off plan, don't be hard on yourself. That's the past, and just focus on this current moment. Right now, I am eating healthy. I will eat healthy again. And that was the past. Every time you mess up or eat off plan, just know it's okay. Be gentle with yourself and know that there is so much influence in our environment that is constantly reinforcing a negative message about eating unhealthy. And so we have to constantly fight that. And you can do it. You are strong. I'm with you. And I believe in you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I wish you all the success on your journey of eating whole food, plant-based. And always remember, nothing tastes as good as health feels. Thank you so much for watching, and happy plant eating.